As millions of people head to the polls tomorrow to cast their ballots, a major concern for both poll workers and voters, of course, is safety. Joining me live this morning to talk more about how law enforcement is making sure you are safe at the polls is Jim Burch, president of National Policing Institute. Good morning, Jim. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Good morning, Zach. Thank you for having me.
Obviously, this is on the minds of many, safety, as we know. Talk to us about how safety is a priority for folks going to cast their ballots tomorrow.
Well, as you know, Zach, voting is one of the most coveted rights that Americans have, and it's what sets our democracy apart, which is vital to our interests. And therefore, law enforcement, I think, collectively has recognized that it's imperative for them to be ready for any scenario to ensure that citizens have the right to vote and make access to the polls and feel safe and secure in doing so. And so my organization has been a part of a series of meetings over the course of the last year with law enforcement officials around the country, talking about how they can best prepare to protect our safety.
And Jim, I want to be clear too, this isn't just the safety of voters. This is also the safety of workers at these polling locations, precincts, and other places.
That's right. Yeah. Election officials have a difficult job to begin with, but have this year faced an extraordinary number of new challenges, among them, unfortunately, new threats that have emerged, and that's calling for new security measures, new cooperation between election officials who control local election environments. The polling places are generally under the authority of election officials. And so really, they've built a much stronger relationship with law enforcement leaders in every state and in every locality to protect our public safety.
We say it all the time, it's cliche to say, but it truly does take a community. When we talk about challenges, what are the challenges law enforcement officers and officials are facing as they try to protect people heading into tomorrow?
Well, I think that the main concern that law enforcement agencies are dealing with is how to reassure the public two things. One, that they will be able to vote safely, they will be able to have access to the polls, and doing so in a way that presents the picture to the public that law enforcement is there to protect the public safety of everyone, regardless of who you may be voting for. And so law enforcement's job is to protect all of us, no matter what party we may be affiliated with, no matter which candidate we may prefer. Law enforcement takes no sides. Law enforcement's job is public safety. And that's what we've been hearing from law enforcement leaders around the country. Now, they are doing this at a time when law enforcement is under stress. You know, just in Houston, for example, as you know, there have been a lot of conversations over the last year about law enforcement staffing. Do we have enough officers to do the job? Which translates to the officers that are in the agency working a lot longer hours, a lot harder, to ensure that we are all safe and doing what we do every day. And so they're now approaching one of the most important days in the history of our country, and ensuring that all of us are safe as we go about the business of voting or working at the polls or as election officials. And they're doing it probably at a time when they've been already working extra long hours and under a lot of stress. And so one of the interesting concerns that law enforcement leaders has to think about in a time like this is ensuring the wellness of our officers, making sure that our officers are able to continue to do their jobs every day in the excellent ways that they do it, but also taking care of themselves, taking care of their families, because they are under a lot of stress themselves.
Yeah, and we, of course, are so thankful for the work they do every day. And it all starts, we all play a part in this. So it starts with us. Jim Burch with National Policing Institute, thank you so much for your time this morning. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, Zach. Appreciate you.